gentlemen, welcome to episode 8. Can you believe it? Of Desert Island Dickheads. And today we've got a special guest because I think this is the first time none of us have ever met this chap before.
Before you go on though, why am I as late as episode 8?
Because we didn't even know of your existence until then.
Okay, fair enough. You know.
The word had to get round.
Yeah, once the word got round, we signed you up straight away. But before we go, we're just going to do this. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, give a thumbs up, and press the notification bell. Ding dong.
Can't be a good notification bell, can you?
You can't.
That's a good
one,
actually.
You might as well introduce yourself, sir.
Well, my name is Tony Atkins. You never would have heard of me, but about 50, 60 years ago, I was quite busy in the music industry, playing guitar, generally making records, when a lot of people weren't actually doing that. Funnily enough, in very late 50s, early 60s, we formed a new band, and I thought it was possibly too late to form a band then because there were so many bands, but there was only about 10. But it just felt like the whole world was forming a band. From then on, you know, we eventually got a record contract in the 60s. Worked with the Beatles, worked with Jimmy Page.
Why says it's so casual?
I knew all those people. Well, it was. It's just what you did.
Well, let's go back to the beginning.
Okay,
What's the first question?
Tony, can you tell us something about your earliest musical memory?
Well, it's a musical memory. It's because we had a piano at home. I mean, in those days, everyone seemed to have a piano in their front room. I think they called it a lounge. My dad was a pianist. He played piano accordion and he sang really well, but only for his own pleasure, his own entertainment, and at parties. He always got invited to parties. So
Down at the old Bull and Bush, no doubt. Roll out the barrel. I know what you. Would you call yourself a Cockney? Where are you from?
I think so. I was actually born during the war.
Right.
So I was born in Derbyshire.
Oh, were you?
My family were from Hackney.
Right.
So yeah, I was born in a castle, funny enough.
Nice one. Royalty. We've got royalty.
Willersley Castle in Derbyshire, and it's on my birth certificate.
So you were evacuated, or your mum?
My mum was evacuated, yeah, and so they had a maternity wall built into the side of this.
Really?
This castle. No. So I started off. I couldn't fail, really, could I? Let's be honest. You're born in a castle, you know. I don't think I made the best of it, to be honest with you.
So your dad didn't become a musician himself?
He could have done whatever he wanted. He could dance. He could sing. He could play piano. He could do magic tricks. Yeah. But his life was pretty buggered up. I'm going to say buggered up by the war.
Right.
Because at the age of 19 he was in the Navy. So anything he did, and then when he came out, he had 2 kids, and he just had to get whatever job he could just to
game over.
Yeah,
once
pretty much.
Kids come along.
Well,
yeah.
I'd say he's got 2 lovely. Did you say 2 lovely children?
I had a sister, and I also had a younger brother. Yeah. Well, I won't talk about if you don't mind.
No, but I'm just thinking because Johnny thinks your life's over once you have kids, which is obviously ridiculous. But he had a family and he played the accordion.
He's right in respect of it. He couldn't do exactly what he wanted to do anymore, but he took on his responsibilities basically.
He did, yeah. And he still played his music. He still played piano, and he inspired you because I know.
I tried to play guitar with him playing piano, and it was impossible.
It's hard to play with pianos, isn't it?
He was not that disciplined a player, and I didn't know that much then. I'm a skiffle. I think I was 14 or 15, and I knew about 3 or 4 chords, and he didn't even know what a chord was. But he played really well, entertainingly well. And so that was my first introduction to music, really, I suppose.
Yeah, that's a lovely early musical memory. Now, I'm not sure if this will apply, but what was the first single you bought with your own money?
I didn't buy singles.
Yeah.
It possibly might have been a skiffle. Oh, it's probably Lonnie Donegan. It was a skiffle. I'm putting Lonnie Donegan because everyone you mention skiffle to says, oh, Lonnie Donegan.
They do, don't they?
So there were quite a few skiffle bands around, and they were really good. First skiffle band I ever saw, if I can diversify slightly, I went to in Walthamstow, the what's it hall? What's the name?
Trades Hall.
No, next to the town hall. Anyway, I went there and I saw Chris Barber's jazz band. Someone at school said I should go and see them, and they had a section within their repertoire where they played some skiffle songs.
Yeah.
I think I was 14 or 15, and that I really enjoyed seeing that. And if I'm going to jump forward many years by coincidence, I started producing records with Chris Barber's Records as his band in the when would that have been, the 70s, late 70s, early 80s, right the way through to the 90s.
Right.
And I'd seen him in 1956 or something at the I'll remember the venue soon.
So next to the town, there's a college now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
Well, it must have just been the town hall, was it?
no, next to the town hall.
Oh, right.
They had a lot of concerts here and live shows, lots of stuff.
Yeah, there's a room at the back as well. Even I played there once, but it wasn't very big.
Well, funny enough, we actually saw, there's a plaque for Lonnie Donegan's Rock Island Live.
Is there?
Yeah. And in West Hampstead, we saw it.
What, outside Decca Records?
Yeah, the old Decca Record building.
Where he was signed,
By the river? By the
No, it's in West Hampstead. It's
oh,
where
but that's the studio. It's West Hampstead studio.
it's where he recorded.
I
Rock
recorded
Island
it a
Live.
few
Funny enough,
times.
I always used to think of Lonnie Donegan as being a bit of a joke act. That's because my parents bought me Mild-Man's A Dustman,
Well,
which is one of
shame
these.
on them.
But
That's what I'm going to say.
Do you not like that one?
I've recently been watching him on what's that thing? YouTube. Yeah.
They have YouTube in those days.
No, I've been
What's
watching.
YouTube then? What is YouTube?
Who knows? And he's brilliant, really, isn't he? And I'll tell you something else.
He was a great entertainer. He kept it simple, but he really sold. He had so much unbelievable energy.
He did.
When
And that guitar player.
which one? He had a few.
Les Bennett.
No, he's good. Yeah.
He was great.
Good player.
And he don't get much recognition, does he? You know, he was before all.
Yeah, but skiffle was as popular as it was, but it was only with it's a big audience. It was a narrow audience in terms of the people that liked skiffle.
Yeah.
It wasn't until he did the record that you got that he became. Have you still got it?
What might? I don't think so.
It wasn't until he got that he became, and then he did quite a few TV shows, didn't he? He was.
Yeah. Ironically, I think my mother threw it in the dustbin, that record.
Oh, sad ending to that. I'm going to go into this next question, if I may.
Okay.
What's the favourite live show that you've seen?
You mean?
Well, his album. You've missed a question out.
I did, yeah. I made an
The
executive
Chirping
decision.
Crickets.
Oh,
The only
right.
reason I bought that
okay.
album, you missed that one,
Yeah.
was because I loved Buddy Holly's guitar playing.
Mm.
I was in the band by then, and I wanted to learn his guitar solos.
Yeah.
So I bought the record. In those days, you'd get a turntable that would play at 18 and a bit, or 17 and a bit, half the speed of 33. So,
Why? Why would it do that?
Because you could set it to do that. You could set, there was 4 speeds
So
on
it played slow?
so that I could hear the notes.
Oh, I see.
And because it was half speed, they were in the right key still.
Yeah.
If you just slow
Oh,
things
yeah,
down,
yeah.
they go to the wrong key. So I
That's
wore out
brilliant.
all the grooves for all these guitar solos. But I was being fooled a little bit because they used a slap echo, a repeat echo on some of them. So some of the notes you thought you heard,
Yeah.
he hadn't played them. They were repeat, so it's bop.
So you
So
were
the
playing
second
even
vo-
more complicated than he was.
I was trying to, yeah.
So was Chirping Crickets the name of the album?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you know that?
That's his first album.
That
Got
was
all his
it.
big hits on it.
It was the only studio album he ever made.
It's partly studio and partly done in a hotel when they were on tour and they didn't get a chance to go to. Norman Petty took all of his equipment on tour with them
Right.
because he wanted to finish the album.
Yeah.
So a lot of it was in his studio, but a lot of it was he set all of the equipment up, a bit like you're doing here. Set it all up in his own in the hotel rooms and recorded it there.
Yeah.
A fountain of knowledge, eh?
Yes.
Right. So Buddy Holly, Lonnie Donegan, classics. So your favourite live show that you've seen?
No,
first
I didn't
sorry,
quite
let's do
understand
first
that
live
one. First live show was down,
That's
it wasn't
easier.
Leighton, it was Leighton, just
Oh.
down the road, the Line and Key in Leighton.
Is it still called that?
Yeah, it's a hotel now, on the one-way system. just by Orient's Ground. Before you get to Orient's Ground, it's on the right hand side, on the corner. It's the Line and Key.
Not the Oliver Twist.
No, it's called the Line and Key. Well, it
Well,
was
I
up
should
to
know
a little
that.
while ago.
So I've lived there.
It's turned into a hotel. But I was with my first band. I think I was about 17, and we used to do the Sunday evenings alternate with Joe. Joe Brown was in the skiffle group called the Spacemen.
Oh yeah.
But he wasn't playing skiffle by then. He was just playing fantastic electric guitar, and he was so helpful. He showed me a few things, and
So that's before Joe Brown and the Brothers.
yeah, it was the Spacemen.
Right.
Like he used to do the same sort of gigs as us. I wasn't with my band then. I was with this band that existed, and the guitarist in the band, they were only a trio, wanted me to play. He'd heard me playing at school, and I was 16, and he said, would I join his band, and because he wanted a bit of support, and that was it. I was a professional musician suddenly at 16 or 17. But Joe was, he told us, do you play guitar? What do you play?
I play mostly fiddle, but I play guitar as well.
Well, he showed us what the Americans were doing was putting the B string on the G string position, so it was easier to bend. So you got the E, B, D. Well, that's one where you do a lot of the pulling and the pushing of the notes.
Yeah.
And if you put a B string on it, it was much finer.
Oh,
it was much
right,
thinner and much easier. It's just one of the tricks to show. None of us knew it, you know. And
Well, I never knew it.
he
even
got
now.
told it, and he pointed it out to everybody. So the first live show I did of any note at all was at the Line and Key in Leighton, every other Sunday evening, and Joe and the Spacemen were doing the alternate Sundays with us. Yeah.
Very
And
good.
I was really very, very impressed.
Did you get a good crowd there?
Yeah, it was packed out there
Yeah.
but you know.
Were they listening?
I don't care. I was playing. I really didn't care. I was so lucky at my age to have been taken. I was only in that band for about 3 or 4 months because it made it into a 4-piece, and the drummer, a nice enough guy, he didn't see the need to be losing a quarter of his money.
Oh.
So I went, and I did form a band with the lead guitarist, the bloke that got me in there many years. Well, not many years, about 7 or 8 months later. And that's when I started to sort of organise a band and got involved a bit more.
Yes. So, what's your most sort of memorable or favourite live show that you did?
Well, the Beatles, eh?
The Beatles?
Whoever wrote the Beatles, you can't. Having said that, we worked at Salisbury Civic Hall, Civic Hall, I think. Shall I tell you how that evolved? Well, we were just a support band.
Yeah.
And
What is this, the Beatles show?
yeah.
Yeah.
And we got there, and the roadie turned up just after we got. We were told we couldn't take any of our girlfriends with us, which didn't make them very happy.
Wow.
In fact, it made them very, very.
What do you mean you
unhappy.
couldn't take them to see
the
the
show.
show?
Yeah. Because
So,
they'd be backstage with us.
Oh, they couldn't be backstage.
Yeah,
They couldn't
yeah.
get a ticket though.
They couldn't get a
Go and see-
ticket anyway.
Oh right, yeah.
So what sort of stage was this of the Beatles' career?
I'm going to tell you that right at this moment because their manager, Epstein.
Brian Epstein, yeah.
He tried to buy them out of the contract because they had so many big shows building up. See, bands would have a hit record, and they didn't know whether it was going to last. How whether they were going to get another one.
Yeah.
There were so many bands that were not so many, but quite a few bands just getting one hit record or two, and they had to cash in at the moment that they were in great demand. Well, the Beatles were the same as everybody else. They didn't know how big they were going to be, but they got bigger whilst this booking was still on the books, so to speak.
Yeah.
Right. So
And
he
he tried to buy them out of it, and they couldn't, so they had to fly in by helicopter up the road and drive in to the gig.
So for-
McCartney was driving an old Cortina into the
So for
the
them,
gig.
this would be a very small show for them.
It's about 1,800 people
Oh.
seated.
But by that time, they were used to bigger shows.
It's
weren't
just,
they? Yeah.
only just. It's their first or second number one, I think. I can't exactly remember. It's a long time ago.
Yeah.
But they turned up. And they were great. We had a good laugh with them, good joke.
So how many bands were on the bill? Because normally there's quite a lot.
Just two of us.
Two. And what was your band called then?
We were called Group 5.
Group 5.
Yeah. Lennon actually borrowed my plectrum because he couldn't find his plectrum.
Did you get it back?
I don't think I did actually. I don't think I did.
Swine.
But that was quite normal, those things, you know. I mean, we were just bands.
So
can I go back to the Beatles again?
Yeah,
I was told about them prior to that. Probably about a year before that, we had a drummer. Our drummer was ill, so we had a guy called Jimmy Hurley, I think his name was helping us out, and he'd just come back from Hamburg, and he said, "I've seen a band over there." He said, "Absolutely fantastic." He said, "They are going to be big," and it was the Beatles. He'd seen them, and he said he could. One of his things he said, he was walking by they were rehearsing. He was walking by the street in front, and he heard drums and bass, and he looked in, and it was Paul McCartney triggering the bass. Sorry, left-handed, triggering the bass and playing the drums at the same time. And he said that this band are superb, and sure enough.
So your gig was where exactly? Where did you play with the Beatles?
It was in Salisbury Civic Hall, Civic Centre, Salisbury Civic Hall, I think. I didn't have a chance to look it up.
Was it all screaming and stuff when they were?
We went down.
Did you get any screaming?
Well, screaming us to get off. So now we went down better than I thought we would. It was a little bit concerned, you know, but no, it was fine. They were great though. I loved them. They're my favourite band anyway, and you know, to work with them.
So another guest who has the Beatles as their favourite band, but you know,
who wouldn't?
It's not surprising, is it? They're brilliant.
No, they evolved as well. You know, I mean, where they started to where they ended was just an incredible musical journey, wasn't it? Let's be honest.
Staggering, really.
So,
can I just get back to the Beatles?
Yes.
The first drummer in my band was Charlie Watts.
Did you know that, Johnny?
No.
You love Charlie Watts, don't you?
King.
Charlie and the singer that just joined the band, and he became a big member, and we worked together on the band. And they were commercial artists, and they worked up in where was Holborn, Chancery Lane. And what a memory, eh? What a memory I've got. It's frightening, isn't it? And we needed a drummer. We were just formed, and we needed someone. We had this little gig, I think it was a wedding, whatever it was. And Colin said, he said, "Charlie's a drummer." He said, "I'll ask him if you join us." He was working with Alexis Corner then. Yeah. And he came and worked with us on a gig.
Just the one off, yeah?
Yeah, just
what was he like?
I think he'd had enough. Yeah, he was
a strange man, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think he was a Spurs supporter, which, you know, it's all right, I suppose. But, no, he was a blooming good drummer. Yeah, I don't know what he was like as a commercial artist,
no.
Him and Colin were working out there. And he thought it was a bit of when he auditioned for the Stones, he thought they were not a joke band, but he couldn't see it happening with them, you know. But he was wrong, and it did work, and what an alternative to the Beatles, as long as the Stones turned out to be.
Okay, your proudest musical moments.
Well, getting on a bus from Friedman's, which was down the road, used to be just before the bridge going across.
Yeah.
And
you can remember that shop, can you?
I remember it's a guitar shop.
It was an accordion originally before it became guitar, but they were guitarists, accordionists, the whole family of Friedman's. Yeah, they had guitars, electric guitars, and I saw this Hofner president in the window. I was 16 or 17, 16. And I think it was 54 quid, which was a lot of money in those days.
What was the currency way back then?
Pound notes.
Was it?
Yeah. And I persuaded my dad to get it on a Never Never on HP. And we got all the forms done, and I went down there to pick it up. And and had a case, and I looked at it, and I had it in my hand, and I walked along to. I lived in Chingford, and I had to get on the. Where did I move to Epping? I was in Chingford. Got on the bus just past Freeman's. As I got on the bus, I thought, I wonder if everyone knows what I've got in here. It's something I've always wanted, because there weren't many electric guitars around in those days, and so I was really proud of like a peacock, sort of pride. And the other thing, I was proud when I was asked to produce as a producer a couple of albums in the States. I felt I sort of arrived somewhere. There's a little story there if you're interested.
Yeah.
We are interested, but before we go any further, we've got a voicemail.
Oh.
Hey everyone, it's Paul here, Paul from London. You know, I'm just really thrilled with Emma and Johnny's Desert Island Dickheads. You got to tune in, you know, watch it, you'll love it. Bye.
Thank you, Paul, for the message. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I've got a lot to get through.
That's all right. Fire on.
You're not going to get half of it, unfortunately.
So America.
Yeah, I was working with Paramount Records in Soho Square. I was up there talking to the manager about production I was going to be doing, and the phone went, and it was Dave, the guy I was with. He said, "Oh, it's for you." He said, "It's Bob Reno in New York." He chased me round. I had 2 or 3 appointments in London that day, and he tracked me down to there, and he said, "Would I be interested in producing an album in the States for him?" But he had a very short window of opportunity when he had to start it, at least start the rehearsals. And I said, "Yeah, I'd be interested." He said, "I'm going to have to ask you to buy your own air ticket. I need you there in 10 days. You buy your own air ticket, and I'll take care of the accommodation, and I'll take care of everything, you know, and pay you when you get there." So I did that, and I ended up on a 707. They were in those days. They were called them the Guzzlers. They're the only things that went across the Atlantic. They weren't particularly big. And when I got there, the guy was standing with a ball with my name on it, and went round and said, "Bloody great big long limo." So anyway, he dropped me off. He said, "I've got to take you to your accommodation, and Bob will meet you there." It was a hired limousine. And so when I got there, it was on Central Park and 7th Avenue. I don't know if you know New York at all.
Only
It's
from the telly.
quite a posh end. And it was an apartment that belonged to Melanie.
Look what they've done to your song, Ma.
My song.
My song. She
And
just died recently, Melanie.
Did she?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, she's one of her many properties in America. And it was just like a luxury 35, 40 foot balcony around the front and 4-poster bed, and I thought this is just
You've made it.
crazy.
So
but-
when was this?
76.
76, right.
But the big problem was that I then had to book all the musicians. I'm in New York. I don't know any American musicians. I don't know one. They got the studio booked, so I rang a couple of friends in England that had worked in the States and whatnot, and they gave me some contact numbers. And I got together a really good set of musicians. Started rehearsing with him.
So this is the album you produced, yeah?
I produced 2 actually.
Oh,
Yes,
did you?
That's
That's one of them.
It's the only one I could find.
Keith Ehrman.
That's the only one. But unfortunately, that got a fair bit of play. But they immediately, I had to go back 3 months, 2 months after finishing it, do another one, because they thought it was going to really have massive fallout between the management and the record company. So the second one never even got issued.
What, the same artist?
Yeah.
Yeah, that always happened.
In the studio, I had a really nice experience in when I was mixing. We moved the studio to Atlantic Studios, and my engineer was Gene Paul, Les Paul's son.
Oh, right.
I thought,
Doing, doing,
I thought,
doing.
this is unbelievable, you know, like you meet all the people. But I've got all my work, so that was a nice experience.
Nice.
That was good.
Now, to tie in with this here, tell us about your band from the 60s. They were called?
We were called Spectrum.
Spectrum.
Spectrum, and we changed our name from our previous name about 1965. And we had a one-off record out on EMI, which didn't do very much. And then through various, we were working full time. You know, like we were really busy, and we had quite a good following.
Playing in London?
Mostly London, yeah, but everywhere in London.
Yeah.
A lot of South London, but it was normally church halls, pub halls, school halls, quite big places. And there was a load of work, but it was really hard going, but it was good. We enjoyed it, and then we got the chance to get a record contract with RCA. I think we were the first band to be signed to them. They were just leaving. They had a distribution deal with Decca. So RCA Victor in England only existed as a label. All the pressing and everything else was done by Decca. Elvis was on RCA Records, but it was all done via Decca. But RCA were about to form their own distribution hub, if you want. And so they wanted to get their own act signed directly to them, so we were one of the first to be signed. And we got a lot of publicity from it. And that's when this Captain Scarlet thing, don't show any of those photos, that's when this Captain Scarlet thing happened.
So you hadn't had you had any singles out before?
Yeah, on EMI. One.
Oh, right, so you hadn't had a single out as the Spectrum yet?
Yeah, that was our Spectrum.
Oh, that was as a Spectrum.
1965,
okay.
Yeah.
And then you were approached...
We were signed to RCA.
Yeah.
To as a band, basically. They bought us a van and gave us a bit of money, and because we were a pretty good band, even though we didn't have a record deal at that time. A lot of bands didn't. A lot of bands were looking for record deals, and so we were signed there. And our first record was, funny enough, Samantha's Mine.
Samantha's Mine.
Which I can't find it here. It was in all the charts on the pirate stations.
Yeah.
Radio Caroline, Radio London.
Yeah.
Getting played to death. It was really thought it was going to happen. Two things stopped it.
Yeah.
One was, I'm going to say it. One was Decca Records, because they were losing the contract with RCA.
Oh, right.
Because the RCA were going alone. But they were still at that time responsible for pressing and distribution of the records, which is a major part of Hit Records, is the distribution, making sure it's in the right shops at the right time, because all the charts were taken from the sales in certain shops. That's how it worked. They were I found out many years later, when I was doing some production work for Decca, that there was a boardroom decision to make sure that our records weren't in the shops in sufficient numbers.
How did you feel about that?
When I found out all them years later, I didn't get tossed in. But I was annoyed, you know, I would have been annoyed at the time. What could I do, you know?
No.
But that's why we had hits abroad.
Yeah.
Because that same record went abroad and had hits, you know.
So
massive number one in Spain.
Number one?
Number one.
Yeah.
He's our first guest who's number one in Spain.
Yeah. Number one. We had 3 number ones in Spain.
Yeah? Is it
number one in Germany.
Number one in Germany?
But we couldn't crack the English market. It was the first reason was because of this distribution problem.
Yeah.
And the second one is I don't know. I mean, let me tell you, you know, we did a version of Obla Di Obla Da.
Yeah.
We did that. Didn't particularly think the song was great, but there was 3 copies of the White Album they weren't finished copies, they were just production copies, no labels. We got one, listened to it, we heard Over the Day, Over the Dar, and thought that will be a hit. Went to the record company and said, we want to record this song. They said, oh, I'm not sure it's right. No, believe me, it's right, we want to record this song. And they wouldn't let us record it. In the meantime, a band called Marmalade,
Yeah.
they recorded it.
Number one.
And they went to number one in England.
On a different label.
Yeah, they weren't on our label, they were on their own label, whatever their label was. RCA didn't record it.
If
But,
this had been Johnny, he'd be
so we
furious
got
so
an
many
urgent
times
phone
over.
call when they could see this record moving up the charts. We went to the studio at midnight and made a version of it.
Really?
Midnight to make a version of it. It was sent abroad straight away, and it was issued in England about 9 or 10 days later. It was too late in England, but it went to number one in Germany, went to number one in Spain.
Wow.
We just couldn't. Many years later, I spoke to the guy who I knew quite well at RCA, and he said, "I'm sorry, son." I said, "What can you do? You know."
My mother bought.
We had quite a lot of bad luck, actually.
My mother bought the Marmalades. That's one record I can remember. Yeah. What a traitor mother. So, is there any? Did you see any of the money from these number ones in Spain?
Not really.
No.
No, we were on a ridiculous percentage from RCA. You know, I got a lot of work, and so I was earning money. We did some good gigs, and it was all very interesting, but it was a bit frustrating to say the least. Who knows what would have happened though had it gone the other way?
Yeah.
So
So,
did you ever get on Top of the Pops?
Twice.
what as the Spectrum?
Once as a Spectrum, once as a Dalek in a box.
Oh right. Let's show some of the Spectrum photos here. This is on
Actually, the Spectrum thing is on. It's probably still on YouTube.
the Top of the Pops appearance.
Yeah, we did a film. We filmed in our record was called Portobello Road,
Yeah.
and we filmed in Portobello Road all day long to the lyrics of the song "Moving," and that's Jackie magazine.
That's the Jackie look. All the girls used to buy Jackie.
I got that one for
That's-
nothing.
That's Tony there at the back.
All right, don't interrupt.
I think it's one inside.
You were
it's
saying
really-
Portobello Road.
Yeah, and it was filmed, and it was shown on Top of the Pops by, and that week it was Jimmy Savile was. I can say it because he was running Top of the
Yeah.
Pops. He was the DJ on it that week, and it got a lot of airplay. And again, we just couldn't.
Didn't make it.
Didn't make it, and it's on there now still. I think there was some sort of contractual problem with the film, so it's on there now, and it's been brought down in quality. You could, if you look on the Spectrum Portobello Road on YouTube, you'll find it.
Yes.
You'll definitely find it.
Captain Scarlet.
Oh yeah. What were we going to say about Captain Scarlet?
Yeah, how did that come about?
Well, we had this record out called Samantha's Mine, and it was getting a lot. Well, on radio. On the time, as you can see, it was getting loads of airplay, and Sylvia Anderson was in her car.
So this is what the wife of is it the wife?
She's invented more of it than Jerry actually.
Did she?
They fell up. They didn't get on very well together at all. And she heard the name of the band was Spectrum, and she panicked basically because the Captain Scarlet wasn't out yet, and the name of their organisation was the Spectrum. So she could see a real conflict of not interest, but they could be stopped from doing what they were doing.
Yeah.
So she got on to us and our management and said, would they like to do a joint promotion with them for it? And they said, yeah, it sounded like a good idea. Didn't ask us, of course. So they set about it. They said, right, come on, you can sing the theme song. The backing track was already done, it was an instrumental, so they had to adjust all that for us. And we missed the first 2 or 3 episodes because they'd done all their editing and all their final cuts and everything, so they didn't want. But we did the last 12 or 13, we had to go to the studio and sing this song. It's a very difficult song. It might not sound it, but it's a very difficult song, especially when you're singing to a track that wasn't necessarily produced to be singing on top of. And so we sang on it, and we got a bit of publicity for it. And then they said, "Oh, we'd like you to start promoting. We're going to make you the costumes." So we went to the Behrmans, I think they're called.
Oh yeah, Behrmans, Leytonstone.
No, these are the big people in the West End.
There was one.
We went there, we got fitted out for it. They had brilliant costumes. Unfortunately, we didn't want to really parade around in them. They weren't very good for an image, but we did. We had the boots. There's one thing I do want to find, and I will find it. And we had all these costumes made, and we did various performances. Not on stage, never on stage. We did the Golden Shot.
Oh yeah.
Remember the Golden Shot?
No. Yeah, with Bob Monkhouse.
Yeah, and Bernie the Bolt.
Bernie the Bolt.
And
what did they have?
We had to wear the uniforms on that.
Right.
And no one wanted to wear a hat. We will sort of wear the uniform, but if we have to, but not the hat. Someone's got to wear the hat. So guess who wore the hat? The drummer. No, the drummer. Poor old Keith. He had the hat.
But here you are on the front.
That's Lady Penelope.
That's the Lady Penelope magazine. I had no idea. And they're on the front cover of that.
If you turn into the front page, you'll find something even more bizarre. There's us in the strip cartoon. Look.
God. Spectrum.
Oh
in
my
the actual
God! It was
comic.
absolutely unbelievable, wasn't it? It really is unbelievable.
So even despite all this publicity and writing, getting the song played every week when it was on, it still didn't make the charts. That's true.
They couldn't issue it because I showed you that picture of us signing with Louis Benjamin.
Right.
Well, that's ATV. We were with RCA.
Okay.
So they let us sing the song on the show, but they wouldn't let us issue it.
Right.
So it couldn't get issued. I had some bad luck.
You have, haven't you?
And
if it wasn't for bad luck, you'd have no luck at all, this man.
That's why I'm such a miserable so-and-so.
It sounds like the record companies and whatever were actually deliberately trying to stop maybe the artists getting any successful money.
Let's put it this way, they didn't really care.
No.
They didn't care. And some of them, I'm not saying any of these involved here, weren't overly professional about the way they conducted themselves.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So you never met Captain Scarlet himself?
I did on 3 or 4 occasions, but he told me to keep it quiet.
Oh right, okay, that's good.
He said, whatever you do, don't tell anybody. Now I have.
It's out.
Why did he want you to keep it quiet?
Because he was a puppet.
Because he's a puppet. And I'm looking for...
Oh, I see. Yeah,
talking about the Spectrum, you can get, and this is still available.
36 tracks.
36 tracks. This is a double CD of all the tracks that they recorded.
On Amazon.
It's on Amazon, still selling very well. Yeah. And that looks like a very good. It's got a booklet. It's a double CD, and they're very 60s. This band, some great stuff. You actually recorded a song that I love called Saturday's Child. The Monkees did it.
Yeah. That's a B-side of Samantha's Mind.
Oh, was it? Did you record that before they did, or did
No, we did it. But it was going to be the A-side, and Samantha's Mind turned out to be slightly more commercial than Saturday's Child.
I like Saturday's Child.
Written by Gates, I think.
Was it? I don't know.
Not Bill Gates.
Or Garden Gates, even.
Or Pearly Gates.
What's that picture there? I'm admiring
that's
this.
Me.
That's a one solo.
That's some young man.
We did. I did loads of one-off singles in the 70s and sold them to record companies, and we just needed various photos of people that you could.
It's a lovely picture. It's very 60s, isn't it?
Yeah.
70s.
Or going into the 70s.
T-shirt. There you go. Here's 70s. Yeah.
You look like you could be in Barclay James Harvest.
Oh, yeah, my records.
Just, yeah. I know nothing about Barclay James Harvest apart from I'm on one of their album sleeves.
Oh yeah?
In my
what?
when I was a supermodel.
Oh, when you was the supermodel.
I was a model on that.
Well, I'm afraid I'm going.
Next question.
Well, I hear you did build your own studio at the next stage of your career.
Yes, I some friends have built a little studio in Dagenham, and I had a contract with a French company as a producer to produce I think it was about 3 albums a year and 10 singles a year, and I thought I'd try and use my friend's little studio, so I went there, and it wasn't bad. I did some of the work there, and then I got involved in part ownership of it because it needed it needed some new equipment. So with the money that I got for recording the albums, instead of using it for anything else, I bought some better equipment for the studio. So we put the better equipment in there, and we started to. They could use my equipment for nothing, and I could use their studio for nothing. It sort of worked until the owner lost the lease for the premises.
Another bit of bad luck.
So I then.
It wasn't. Did somebody from the Rubettes have anything to do?
I produced the Rubettes.
Oh, did you? What was it? Was there one called Alan?
Yeah, Alan Williams is in Australia now with his wife. And
do you know? I think I might have recorded at that studio.
Druids, it was called.
I can't remember.
Which one?
Well, in Dagenham, I think.
There was 2 in Dagenham because I moved to another place in Dagenham, which was a much smarter studio.
Well, I'm sure that one
Alan
of the Rubettes
used to record there with me.
Oh, did he?
In the big studio, yeah.
Oh, right. I might have been there.
Doing what?
Recording a track.
As what?
I can't remember, but I can remember being in Dagenham.
How could you forget?
Well, you remember the band?
No, it's just fuzzling around in my head, just talking about Dagenham.
I used to produce a lot of records with Alan. I did some of the Rubettes as well. But with
I love the Rubettes.
With Alan, I mean, a lot of them. I've got a picture somewhere which I'll bring you where the original Rubettes were Pete Arneson, John Richardson, Mickey Clark. I can't remember, Billy Hurd. But they worked for me as and Alan, but John Richardson was my drummer on all my recording sessions.
Right.
Before the Rubettes started. So he was.
You're excited about that.
Sugar Baby Love.
I thought the Rubettes, because I don't know them, I thought they were going to be a woman band called the. Because normally when it's X at the end, then you just build off all those men.
Yeah.
No, they were a good little, fun little band.
I used to produce a guy, in fact he's still a friend of mine, a guy called Vincent Edwards, J.V. Edwards. He wrote right back where he started from. Well, it's alright.
It sounds like a song that Billy Ocean
Matching Nightingale, that type of thing.
Was it? Yeah. Well, that was a hit, wasn't it? That
only a number one.
Who for?
All over the blooming world. Maxine Nightingale.
Okay.
So Vince co-wrote that, and I was producing his records for various labels, and we said, why don't we form our own little label and just issue records here, then, everywhere. So we did, and he was ATV Music, and these 2 guys wrote this send-up song. ABBA were doing all those Segway records of 4, 5, 6, 7 different, someone's copying all the hits. It was before the Rabbit, what bloody Disco Rabbits or something, whatever, before that. So we did the send-up that was very, very funny. Singing with an organ and just a clap machine, and Vince was, because he's a Geordie, he was a compere, as if it was coming from a Northern Working Men's Club. And so we did this. ATV put out a white label before it got issued. Wogan played it, and it had my address around the outside because it wasn't even finished. My phone never stopped ringing.
Really?
Yeah. And it just never stopped ringing. About
and what was that?
8 o'clock in the morning. Boy, it wasn't even issued. We didn't even have a label. It was just out as a sort of, let's see what it's like. So we quickly formed this label. We got a distribution deal not with a big enough companies it happened, and it went straight into number 40. My own label, number 40, straight away.
And what was it? What was the track?
It's Star 245 pints. There it is, right in front of you.
So basically, it's like those stars on 45.
That's how we took the Mickey. Stars on 45. That's exactly.
She bought one of them albums recently.
Yeah, that was the
it
sender.
ABBA?
That's it, ABBA.
I didn't realise it wasn't actually
a straight send up of it.
Yeah, they did the Beatles as well. It's just all one.
An organ and a clap machine. But we upset Whitley Bay Social Club because of the things they said in it about, not demeaning, but what would be a typical workmen's club. And they said, we're not like that at all. Yeah. So we had to go up there and perform. And we had a lot of publicity where no one knew who Star Turn was. He should wear a mask, and no one knew who the singer actually was. He was only one of our mates. And so we got a train. We went up to Whitley Bay, and we had television lined up with BBC when we got there. Unfortunately, ITV News came to the station and filmed us getting off the train because they wanted to catch him without his mask on. That was stupid. And so the BBC then wouldn't show it. So we went on stage at Whitley Bay Social Club, quite a big club. I was riding a bike with a blazer, and I had marigolds on a long stick that were going like that. That was like the work by the bike. That was a clap machine. Watson was playing organ, and Vince was and it was just a total. They tried to book us back.
Oh.
We weren't even an act. We just
so they did like
promote
it.
the record. Oh, they loved it. They gave us a big fee, but we had to give it straight to charity because they were filming it all, so we wanted to look reasonable.
We played in Whitley Bay, didn't we?
Whitley Bay Social Club?
Not Whitley Bay Social Club, it was a folk club.
Monk's Seat and Arms it was.
Was it?
I enjoyed that.
Nice one.
Right, we're coming to the end, sadly.
What about you're involved in the national number one?
Oh yeah, you talk about the Time Lords.
Oh.
That does ring a bell. The Time Lords.
They recorded at my new studio.
Right.
It wasn't quite so new then. 1989. I think it's been built about a year and a bit. And they suddenly, this record started to gain interest, and they were booked to do Top of the Pops, and it went to number one. So they had to do. They didn't exist as a band, but they were going to have to do something. So Bill and Jimmy decided they'd be out front with guitars. My engineer was a good drummer, so we got him, and a guy called Mickey Wilson was a session singer and an artist. He was going to play drums. So there were two drummers, the two guitar players, and a bass player, and two Daleks.
Oh yeah.
No, they didn't have Daleks.
So what was the song called?
It was called Doctor in the TARDIS.
Doctor in the TARDIS.
It was number one. It's on now. If you go Top of the Pops on YouTube, Top of the Pops 1989 number one, Doctor in the TARDIS. So they built these chests about that high, with the wheels on each corner and little things to put your feet on, and a sink plunger out the front. And me and this other guy in my studio floor worked out a little bit of choreography where I said I'd go in one of these Daleks like this just to help them out. And so we got to Top of the Pops, and we did the run through early on, and then we had a break and we went back again. And I thought, I've got to let people know that this is me on Top of the Pops. I'll tell people I was a Dalek on Top of the Pops. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. So I put my initials on with gaffer tape on my shoes, my trainers on. So I had TA written across on my trainers. And I spoke to the cameraman, one of the cameramen. I said, would you do me a favour? I said, would you pan down on my shoes a couple of times just so that I can say, yes, that was definitely me on Top of the Pops. And he did. If you go to, in your spare time,
yes,
I know you're really busy.
I'll be doing it tonight.
You have a look at Top of the Pops and you'll see TA written on these two shoes under the Dalek. Yeah. The Daleks are terrible. They're moving. But then,
brilliant. Right, so it's been marvellous having you, Tony Atkins.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. I love a chance to talk.
So
As you probably get.
how old are you, by the way?
I'm 83 in 2 months' time.
83.
Good.
Look at him. He looks better
I had
than
to
me.
be, if you think about the things I've been
Yes.
telling you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I'm worried about going on your programme, to be honest, because it's going to be above people's heads. They weren't.
Most of our viewers are in their
Well,
They're all
70s and
decrepit.
80s.
Yeah.
Are they? Well, because they
Well,
can't
some of
move. They're stuck in front of the telly. Oh, the programme's on again. But no, I was a bit concerned about coming on because it's all some personal stuff anyway. It's in the public domain now, but it never was a lot of it in the public domain. And also, I figured that people would be a bit too young to identify with some
well,
of the
I think,
things
I'm
saying.
in my 50s and, you know, I can certainly identify with the stories about the Beatles.
That picture
and,
you saw of me singing
Yeah.
in Japanese, I was
Yes.
50 then.
Okay. There's hope for me yet then.
Fantastic. Well,
Thanks very much for having me.
it's been fantastic, mate. Very, very enjoyable.
you.
I love the chance to have a chat. You know.
Oh,
We do have something.
yeah, you don't
for
go
you.
away empty. By the way, don't forget, check out that album because some of
Yeah.
these tracks on here are absolutely great. I've been listening to them all week knowing that Tony was going to be coming on. So check it out, still for sale. And we would like you to have our Desert Island Dickheads fridge magnet. It's there. Now, I'm not sure if this is true or not, but somebody told me, you know, that those astronauts been lost in space for
Yeah.
about 18 months. Apparently, when they finally got them back down
Yeah.
and splashed into the sea, one of these was stuck on the side.
How did that happen then?
I don't know how it's happened.
Go on,
I haven't.
you know people in high places,
I
don't you?
don't. But I'll Google it and find out if I can
All I
find a
need to do
photo.
now is get a fridge then.
Get a fridge. Well, we might buy you one for being such a great
I've
guest.
got a fridge with a wooden door in front of it.
Ladies and gents, this has been a fantastic episode. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel and leave the message and leave comments and everything. Tony?
Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Thank you very, very much. Bye.